Shalom, greetings. I have in the title, David, Dead, Not Ascended to Heaven. And we read that in Acts 2, 29, 30, I think. Something like, men and brethren, the patriarch David is both like here and with us, and he's dead, and his tomb is with us to this day. And I just wanted to bring these verses up because it's a pretty, just these verses alone are telling us something. It's not for those that don't know, but because of the world and what they believe. That's why I'm saying this also, not for those that know, but those that maybe don't know also, that this is obviously speaking of the resurrection not being fulfilled for except for Messiah. Aside from Messiah, David wasn't risen. And we know, many more scriptures, but this is just lining up with those scriptures in the Old Testament. That anyone who died and passed away and fell asleep, it was still true to the day where we read in Acts. At that present time, it was still true and still is. But not too many believe that in their heart, or they just don't know, don't want to go there, that they're asleep, they're dead. Wow, that was loud. Train. Yes, they're asleep until the last trumpet. When it sounds, there it is. Then they'll be raised from the dead. That's the believer's hope. But the believer's hope today, right now, is resurrection life in him now. But then our hope beyond this life is the resurrection. That's clearly taught in Scripture, along with the true life. Also, spiritual resurrection, if you will, spiritual rising of the dead for those that believe now. Both are true. The real, literal resurrection and to become alive, being, awake, O sleepers from the dead in the grave, spiritually though. So, we know nobody was ascended to heaven. Nobody went to heaven or was alive and made alive from death, even all the way until the point of David, including himself, like we read. Did something change from the time that was written until now? Saying no, nothing changed from that time until now. Let's see let me go to Acts 2, actually. Let me find it. I think it's 29 and 30. Just want to see a little bit of context of Acts 2. Okay, they were filled with the Holy Spirit, set apart spirit. How about the tongues? Others mocking said they are full of new wine. Yes, the new wine, the good wine, is making them drunk, calling good evil and evil good. Peter, standing up with the 11, raised his voice and said to them, Men of Judea and all who dwell in Jerusalem, let this be known to you, and heed my words, for these are not drunk, as you suppose, since it is only the third hour of the day, but this is what was spoken by the prophet Joel. And it shall come to pass in the last day, says Elohim, I will pour out my spirit on all flesh. Your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, your men shall see visions, your old men shall dream dreams. And on my men servants and on my maid servants I will pour out my spirit in those days, and they shall prophesy. I will show wonders in heaven above and signs on earth beneath, blood and fire and vapor and smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the coming of the great and awesome day of Jehovah. and it shall come to pass that whoever calls on the name of Jehovah shall be saved. Joel 2:28-32, he's referencing there. Men of Israel, hear these words. Yehoshua of Nazareth, a man attested by Elohim to you by miracles, wonders, and signs, which Elohim did through him in your midst. As you yourselves also know, him being delivered by the determined purpose and foreknowledge of Elohim. We also read elsewhere that the Lamb was slain before the foundation of the world. This was the purpose of Elohim, of the Father, for Messiah, as it is for all his people to be foreordained, foreknowledge. By lawless hands have crucified and put, you have taken by lawless hands and crucified and put to death, whom Elohim raised up, the resurrection, having loosed the pains of death, even literally, because it was not possible that he should be held by it. For David says concerning him, I foresaw Jehovah always before my face, for he is at my right hand, that I may not be shaken. Therefore my heart rejoiced, and my tongue was glad. Moreover, my flesh also will rest in hope. For you will not leave my soul in Hades. This is the equivalent of Sheol in the Hebrew, which is the grave, or used spiritually also for destruction for someone's life, but literally the grave. You will not leave my soul in the grave, Hades, nor will you allow your Holy One to see corruption. You have made known to me the ways of life. You will make full of joy in your presence. Psalm 16 there. Men and brethren, let me speak freely to you of the patriarch David, that he is both dead and buried, and his tomb is with us to this day. Therefore, being a prophet, and knowing that Elohim had sworn with an oath to him that of the fruit of his body, according to the flesh, he would raise up the Messiah to sit on his throne. Now I have some stuff in the description that touches on these verses here, the 30. The critical text omits according to the flesh. It actually it doesn't have that phrase in there, and doesn't have he would raise up the Messiah, and completes the verse when he would seat on his throne. So if you read the NIV, for example, you'll see the difference, or I have the comparison in the description. Same verses. Now, sometimes the NIV that uses the critical text doesn't have the phrase in the text, but sometimes it does. But the NIV decides many times to not translate it as such, according to the flesh, but in its own way. And the point is not that I can't understand what it's saying because of the translation. That is not the point at all. But I see a corruption, even though it does use that phrase a few times, but most of the time it doesn't. If you compare to any translation that does consistently use it, then there's also the issue of the text not having it. And that's why it might not be there also, the critical text, NU text. You know, it's funny that phrase NU, or those two letters are used, new NU text. That's like, you see that in rock, like NU metal, new metal. This is of a weird spirit, NU. It's something's not right with it, no doubt, to me. Once again, the point is not to say that worldly or descendant can't be understood, but it goes back to Messiah coming in the flesh, according to the flesh, from the seed of David, and that's why the devil hates it. There's a hard time putting according to the flesh directly next to reading Messiah. And so, but this text here does not have that phrase, according to the flesh, in Acts 2. But I wanted to show whatever fit. I don't know, even I was running out of room on the other stream thing, but then it was out of hours, so I had to use Restream. I don't know what fit, but I was on the other one, I was race. It does it even more times than I have in a description. According to the flesh isn't used very often in the NIV, for example. He would raise up the Messiah to sit on his throne. Foreseeing this, spoke concerning the resurrection of Messiah. Yes, the scripture teaching the resurrection of Messiah and the resurrections. of man, not just spiritual, but an actual resurrection, that his soul was not left in Hades or the grave, nor did his flesh see corruption, which is meaning something. You know, it's not just about the flesh, but Messiah didn't see corruption even for the time he was dead. And this seems fitting to me, since I believe, if I have the count right anyways, that, you know, the last great day we read Messiah saying, anyone who's thirsty, come, anyone who hungers, come, on that last great day, which I believe is one with the 22nd, or a regular Sabbath anyways. And then in the read-only one, that's my understanding up until now, unless it's corrected further, that the next day they were sent away on the 23rd, sent away on the 23rd day, and sent away on the 8th day also. Because I believe this 8th day is speaking of after the 7th day of the week. It would be the 8th day if you continued, and then this 8 is one with the beginning of the week, or the beginning of the new creation. And someone shared with me also that when we read in Genesis, when we read in the beginning, that word is connected to first fruits. So that's interesting. You know, first is beginning, also has that meaning in first. But right in the beginning of Genesis, in the beginning, something connected with the first fruits created the heavens and earth, and he's recreating his people now, but will recreate a new heavens and new earth. But the important thing is a new person, the new heart is the heart of it, but also a new heavens and a new earth, recreating creation and making all things new. Like we do read, it really does mean all things, everything, everyone, and everything. But the beginning of the new creation are those that believe in Messiah. This is the beginning of the new creation for them within, because the kingdom of heaven is within. And there is nothing else right now except within. And the kingdom to come will be more, you know, but the kingdom of heaven is within now. That's it, which is everything. To know the Creator within and Messiah within, his spirit, and not have another spirit, a false spirit, anti-Messiah spirit. And the last great day, you know, it's fitting that this came on my mind for David not ascending to heaven, dead and buried to this day. We read at that present time. Now, what time was it in Acts there? This was Messiah's resurrection already. In Acts 2, as far as I can see, they already had his spirit, and they were doing good works and signs and things. So wasn't Messiah already resurrected? So even for the people in this world that might say, well, it was like that, you know, because what this proves is that there was nobody rising from the dead from the beginning until that point. David is still in the tomb, dead, and not ascended to heaven. I wonder why we read that. Because there would have been people that said he's ascended to heaven, as it is now, as it has probably always been for such a long time. Certainly the nations have always had this doctrine that you go straight to heaven. You don't die. You know, you're alive while you're dead somehow, and mix the two things that can't be mixed. Someone's either alive or dead, literally, or alive and dead spiritually. Someone's alive in the Father, or they're dead, or someone's alive literally or dead literally. All are true. You can't be alive for real and perfectly alive 50% and dead 50%. This is abomination and mixing, which is works of evil, the knowledge of the tree of good and evil, mixing things that should not be and cannot be mixed. The contradiction too. The spiritual contradiction concerning spiritual things, heavenly things. Now, someone might say, well, but after Messiah's resurrection, then now that doctrine is applying. People die and go straight to heaven. What's going on with David then? Wasn't he an old covenant saint at the least? Wasn't he more than just the world for an understanding? Righteous according to the old covenant, which is self-righteousness. But he's an old covenant saint, and he's not risen even after Messiah's resurrection. I mean, there it is. I mean, that's not as if that's the only verse, because whatever is true, it's true throughout his word. And there won't be anything that actually contradicts that. It'll be some kind of lack of understanding or corrupting by someone. And that can be proven, not just saying, oh, you're corrupting. It needs to be proven, even through using his word. Nothing is going to contradict this in his word. And if something contradicts it for real, it's false, because the Father doesn't do that work. Must not be his word that came from him. Must have came from something else that teaches that you are alive while you're dead and have gone to heaven. Enoch or something, the true Enoch, not the ones that wrote the book and hundreds of years later claimed to be the Enoch who was long gone for hundreds of years. That book obviously teaches contradictions, real contradictions that I see no way of resolving with any righteous work or, reasoning. And the Enoch that walked with Elohim and was not, that phrase used elsewhere to speak of someone dying, was not. Or someone, with Joseph, they thought he was dead, so that's why they said, we are the 11 and one is not. They figured he must have died already. I believe that's what they believed, but he was long gone for a while, so they probably believed he was dead then. That's why they said that. And the Father worked it out in the end. All that evil worked out for some kind of good, for both. But Joseph, is it Joseph? Yeah, I'm not getting confused with Joshua or whatever. Was despised by his brothers, what should be his brothers, according to the flesh. But, they did evil to him and they were ready to kill him. But one of them starts resisting that idea and just, let's just dump him. Don't kill him. He's our brother still. And that's how the Father works. Something caused one of them, because it wasn't the Father's purpose to kill Joseph. And whatever that is in heaven, it won't be done. Somehow he gets to do through, ways working through man, even people doing evil. And this idea comes and he says, no, don't do this. So that's the Father protecting him through man, which the world will, explain everything away naturally and think they did it and that they know everything and their thoughts came from themselves. They created everything, not learning how reality actually works because it's in rebellion to the Father. That even through enemies, the Father is working out things according to his purpose and plan. And he shows his power by letting them get close to being utterly dead or deceived, and then pulling us out or getting close to death spiritually and then reviving Jacob. And then he lived, some years more, but he was like about to die and then he was revived. And he was given some more years after finding Joseph alive. But he could do that at any time, The Creator can do all that. Anyone, according to his purpose. But especially since we read that David is dead in the tomb, not ascended to heaven, how clear does it get? Well, someone might say, okay, he's dead, but he's in heaven. Oh, we read he didn't ascend to heaven. This is a lie. It's been a lie since forever, since the beginning. That thing that, death and life is mixed somehow, and you're not either one truly, you're lukewarm or whatever in the middle. When something's contradicting like that, that's proof it's something wrong with it. It's a lie, it's corrupt, because the works are corrupt, the beliefs are corrupt, contradicting. And this resurrection for man hasn't happened yet. But the people that are prideful and steaming with pride, that create doctrines that destroy people and say it already has happened, like full preterisms and the whatever they call themselves, the president of the institution. They create institutions, and they're the worldly Moses and leader, not doing according to the new true way in Messiah, but carnal positions and commanding carnally and being a Moses-like carnal figure to people is what people love. Messiah teaches anybody that wants to be great in the kingdom must be servant of all. You can't be ruling and controlling like the carnal man does with the heart at all. No, there is a way to be the things that we read and not do that old carnal evil way. Yes, there's a way. If that way is not given to be seen, then someone will see only a contradiction and it will be foolish to them, which is why we read that to the nations it's foolishness, Gentiles. And to the carnal Jews, a stumbling block, because they say they believe, and they even acknowledge the law, or but not learning at all what all these things mean, because they don't ask, they don't seek the Creator with their heart. They're working on their own, not seeking the Creator's truth with their heart. It's pretty hard to believe that, isn't it? That many people are doing that, while they make an image for believing and doing that, but they're not doing that. They never seek the Creator. That's an abomination to them. And I know what that is. That's just a deception and delusion. I didn't do that. I didn't do anything before believing. And if I did get it religious, it would have been a delusion. It would have just me saying I believe in what I say I believe, which is what you create, getting deceived and deceiving, creating your own Elohim and Elohims and idols, and to just swear that you believe what you say you believe, but it has nothing to do with the Creator and believing in Him. I didn't believe. Any believer should know the difference, because if someone believes in Him, they were dead, then they became alive and they believed for real on a day. There's no confusion about that. There's the fake belief, and then there's the real belief when the devil masquerades. Where people, if they don't know the Father, never believe for real, how can they know what the true is? They'll just swear it's the true when it's not. That's what many are doing. That's what many deceivers shall go out and deceive many, Messiah's words, not breaking the Father's word, because that's been the teaching throughout all His word constantly. Many called, few chosen has been a teaching throughout His word constantly. And He says it simply, many called, few chosen. That's the truth that always has been and will be to the end of this age, the wicked age. So there's an understanding it's all one age because it's the evil age. And then surely there's multiple ages within this evil age, but it's one evil age. The times are evil. They've always been evil. It's just true when we read the times are evil. It's just true. And at times it's worse because a nation's about to go down. And then it can get worse because judgment's coming on the nation. Father's had enough of the sin and had plenty of patience on it. And they did not repent when the plagues come, and they did not stop worshiping demons and doing sorcery and practicing lies. And then they blaspheme the Creator for the heat of Gehenna fire and His judgment. They blaspheme and gnaw on their tongues. The spiritual pain of dying constantly and getting worse is very real. And we're in some crooked times, but is the world going to truly see the sign of the times? If it did, then it would repent. It would do what's righteous. But no, it won't. The world won't. It's going to continue on and keep corrupting and wanting everyone corrupted even further than whatever it is. And it's going to get worse and worse like it always does. And the sin in the heart gets worse and worse in mankind as they go, getting darker and darker down the bottomless pit, falling and deceiving many until the word is complete. But it's always been true and working. All prophecy is always working and true. It's what spiritual prophecy is. All his word is prophecy. Genesis is prophecy. Yes, anything that has to do with the Father's truth is prophesying. We learn the prophecy of what man is and what he does, his works from the heart, seen in spirit, prophesying. And they wanted Messiah to prophesy, blinding him, putting a blindfold on and like smacking him around. Prophesy. Who is hitting you? Who is it who's hitting you? Prophesy, wicked man, loser. Saves others but doesn't save himself. Prophesy. So then we read shortly, right down a couple verses down, he prophesied to them. Then when they said, who are you? Tell us if you're Messiah. He says, you will by no means believe at all. You will by no means believe if it were told to you. There's prophecy right there. Do they believe it? No, because it's against them. Prophecy is against them. They would not believe if he said anything. That's the prophecy. There it is. By no means. And when the Father gives to see something, he saw that those people right there would by no means believe, even if he said something. Say, I'm Messiah. They just keep mocking him and blaspheming him. If he doesn't answer, they keep blaspheming and mocking him. Say it, say it, say it. But if he does, they'll get angry because they can't stand that truth. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. That's what the judgment is within someone's heart. They hate everything. Only acts like it loves something when it goes their way in their own mind. Then it can act like, if you worship someone, then they'll love you. Compliment someone, then they'll act like they love you. If you don't do that, they'll hate you. That's it. It's a one-way street. That's it. With the natural man that does not receive the things of the Spirit of the Father. Now, what is that institution going to do? If just this one thing, as if we can't bring up so much more, as if this is the only proof in his word that the resurrection didn't happen. Only Messiah, the first fruit. Then the first fruits at his coming. Then the end. But there's a lot of things that happen between at his coming, the first fruits, and then the end. Those are true words, but there's a lot in there, time, even ages, that's going to happen. But, it doesn't look like it to someone, so then they teach the lie. Yes, the last days, obviously, have been since Messiah. This always has been the last days. How is it not? Since we read in Acts 2, where Peter saying, he's quoting from Joel about and saying, in the last days I will pour out my Spirit on his people, which is the new covenant promise to have the true faith and receive his Spirit, that the old covenant saints never received the same thing. That's why we read they died without receiving the promise of the set apart Spirit. You can't see anything that the Father is truly knows for the truth and teaches. They couldn't see anything, real things of the heart and spirit, the only way to please the Creator, and not in the flesh and carnality, and not ceasing from murdering someone literally and literal adultery. It's not the meaning of no adultery, don't murder. They couldn't see those things. And then when they do flesh works, they believe that makes them righteous. Our own works don't make us righteous. There's nothing we can do ever at any time that makes us righteous because we did it. That has to be like a constant reminder for believers. Constant reminder and learning and growing that. I mean, you can't understand it. I can't understand it in one day, what that actually means. That you could say the words and then he still gives you more and more understanding on it. In reality, in real life, you start believing it more, which means you do more good works from above and less of our own work. We have to die from our own works. In Revelation, blessed are the dead who die from now on in Messiah. Yes, for they rest from their labors and their works follow them. Resting from their labors or works and their works follow them. Contradiction with the letters. Resting from our old man's works, the wicked, self-righteous, prideful works, trying and doing things that make us righteous and determine it our own self, that cannot ever do that. You can't do it. That is the evil way under the law, self-righteousness, that heart condition of man. Resting from those works and doing the Father's works. Denying self and doing the Father's works, which is resting from our labors and our works. Father's works in us do follow them. That's how that's understood. You can't even receive or speak about truth, real truth, without doing exactly what we read, contradicting with the letters. But when the mind is only thinking on heavenly things, you just don't even care anymore what it sounds like. Then you have to realize that, oh, great. They think it's contradicting. They're not understanding. They just hear the letters, just like we read his word. They just hear the letters. Not speaking out of the letters, speaking out of the truth. And whatever it sounds like, so be it, whether it contradicts literally with the letters or not. We don't change anything to change what it sounds like. That's a deceiver. That's a deceiver. That changes what it sounds like or what people will think of it and modifies it so that they think something. That's a deceiver. That's someone not doing any good works. As long as they keep doing that, they're doing evil works, their own works, and don't rest from their own works. That is man's work, a contradiction and death and stupidity and hypocrisy. So then the old man has to die from our own works so that we rest from them as Messiah died and rested. And then we come alive in him for dying in him and coming alive to a new man doing his works, not our own works. What's it going to look like to people? Someone doing their own works, because that's all they understand. They've never rested from their work, so how can they judge properly and see properly? If they see someone doing the Father's works, it'll just look like to them that you're doing your own works like everyone else and like they do. And they'll condemn that, which means they just condemn themselves because that's all they do. Condemns itself all the time. You can't do this or this is evil. And then that's all they do. They just condemned itself. That's how stupid the Father makes everyone in darkness, in evil. That's how stupid the old man is. It points the finger and condemns itself. Every time it accuses, it does that. That's all he can do without his spirit. Everyone that's ever lived has only done that. Every time it accuses someone, apart from the Father, apart from righteous judgment, which we only can get through his spirit and his gifts, they just accuse themselves for being exactly what they accuse. That's how you learn who someone is. Just listen to what they accuse in carnality. They're talking about themselves. That's what they hate the most, themselves even. What someone is doing so badly and in such strong judgment, they will pour it out all the more. What someone is hiding the most, they will pour it out all the more through accusing others of being what they are. It'll come out even stronger if they're more guilty. Some adulterer Well, who isn't an adulterer, even literally in this world, let alone just the mind and heart? It condemns the person it commits adultery with and calls it names that it itself is. Oh, yes, it can't take it that it's doing that. It's in a delusion. Can't stop. Can't stop, won't stop. It's condemning itself. Thinks it's justifying what they're doing. No, you're the dirty person that's doing that themselves, pointing to others only. Self is talking about itself. This is for any work, any sin. This is how it works. It's that bad and blind. What's someone going to do? No, I'm not, even though it's like obvious, as obvious as daylight, seeing something in the day. When it's seen, it's seen. You look at the works, not the words. You know, everyone's judged by their works. Where we find a scripture that says we're judged by our beliefs and what we say with the mouth. Where is it? Saying something is connected to coming out of the heart. It's never the words alone, never the meaning. Test that anywhere in his word and see if that's so. It's never just the words by themselves. It's the heart and the reason those words are said and what the works are. So then everyone's judged by their works. Only the works. But then, what's false doctrine do? Gets you to do evil works. Doesn't change the truth that it's just by works, but false doctrine gets people to continue to sin and do evil works. So then it is important what we believe. It's still true, though, that we're not judged by that, but only the final product works. That's it. That proves what someone is doing and what they believe and proves their heart, The other thing doesn't prove that because that's not the works by itself. And get someone to believe that what they believe, and that is like guarding sin, and it makes them do sin because when they believe that, they don't think something is sin. See, that belief is connected to the works, but nevertheless judged by works. The Father doesn't judge any other way. Those are the only proofs, works of the heart. And the literal work was still connected to the heart in some way, so it's only by works. Now and to come, everyone judged by works. And someone that doesn't have faith won't produce good works. It's one and connected. Someone that doesn't have the Spirit, they're dead, spiritually and literally. Without the Spirit, the body's dead. Without the Father's Spirit, the man is dead within. It's an interesting thing where Messiah breathes on the disciples and they receive the set apart Spirit, just like the Father breathing life into Adam to become a literal living soul. Now the spiritual, the real things that never was before Messiah, receiving the Spirit, life, breathing life into man so that he's alive while he lives and can then produce good works and do good for the first time ever and learn to do good. Someone might say, well, that's God, because it's Messiah breathing into God, it's the Creator right there. It's unreal. Yes, the Creator, the Father, is doing all things through Messiah, and all things have been given to Messiah. All judgment through Messiah, handed to Messiah. He does nothing unless it's through Messiah. But they just can't understand that. This world, that doctrine is blocking all these truths so that nobody lives it, so that nobody sees it, and nobody learns it. Those beliefs, once again, will be connected to producing corrupt works, fruit, because they never believe at all what they need to do and become. It blocks all these things, false doctrine. Beware of their leaven, their doctrine. It's hypocrisy. All their doctrine is hypocrisy, Messiah said. Beware of it. watch out, beware, careful with it, because it'll be connected to someone's heart and it will produce corruption and bad works, like leaven that gets inside and it grows until it's fully lumped and corrupt. That even a little bit will do that, just a little. And if it doesn't get purged out, that's what it will become. And nobody can stop this spiritual judgment. No one. You have to be seeking the Creator and watching and doing everything we read, or else they will fulfill all the prophecy for darkness and will only become exactly what the Creator's word always meant and can't stop themselves from becoming that. That's what everyone's going to see, that his word was true and that they were nothing and did only evil, and fulfilled the prophecy of Pharaoh, Egypt, through the darkness, vessels of dishonor, so that there could be vessels of honor also, in contrast, so that he can give, so that he can judge the world. How else will he judge the world? Now and to come. So there's a judgment for sin, and he's a righteous judge. And he's judging every work and intention in the heart. And only believers care about this. No one else, whoever the believers are, only care, because the world cannot know him and cannot see him, does not care. Those are the two. There's light and darkness. Light and darkness. Darkness doesn't care about light things. It cares about darkness. That's it. It's a darkened mind, darkened, corrupt spirit that's in death, darkness, and can't see its own works or other works. Therefore, it just violently speaks whatever it needs to be true to save its soul. It doesn't know righteous judgment. It just happens to be carnally right about people because that's what evil is. Who doesn't lie? Who isn't this or that? And they think they're wise when they think they catch someone. It's like being in the literal darkness and going, everyone's blind. Right. Saying that because it is blind and everyone's blind. That took no judgment or discernment at all. It's going to just happen to be carnally right about most people. It says things based off what it needs to say to protect its soul first and foremost. It works out of that intention always to protect itself. If it's being threatened spiritually and with truth, light, then someone will speak out of only defending its soul to make it look good and right and defend itself. It doesn't speak out of any other intention. Can't do so. The spiritual law, the true law, like the apostle says, the natural man cannot receive the things of the Spirit of the Father. And he cannot receive these things and is not able to accept the law, whatever the word we read, neither indeed can he conform and believe in what this means, the law, the spiritual law. For the carnal mind is enmity, like we read, to the Creator and all his laws and commandments. It's enmity. It already hates it from its youth. It's already true. It already does the backwards thing from the beginning. But this is not speaking of the law carnally, and we even read about that. A fleshly law command, not speaking of that, but only real things, heavenly things, and real judgment. To judge righteously, Messiah judged between peoples and what their works are, constantly judging. Yes, what will his people become now and to come? Judges. Don't judge me. Okay, you just said continue to sin. You just called good evil and evil good. There it is. It's over. Did they do that in their own mind? No. But they did exactly what the Father says people will do in his word. They just did it right there by saying, don't judge me. Speaking of the world when it says that. The common thing, don't judge me. They do that hypocritical judgment all day long, constantly. And then they say, don't judge me. They're not talking about righteous judgment. They're not learning that judgment. Did they think they were born knowing it? Why do we read, learn his judgments? What we just knew from the beginning, from birth? A believer doesn't even know from his birth when he's born, or she. That's why we read to learn his judgments. Don't know. But they act like they know. Their works prove that they believe they know all things. Then it's an abomination to actually learn, because they're not learning. They're ever learning, never coming to a knowledge of truth. So in that verse, we read ever learning, but they're not actually learning. The word learning there is being used to describe what's happening, what they're trying to do. They're learning, ever learning, never coming to knowledge of truth, never learning. They're ever learning while they never learn. That's, the discernment for learning in that verse is it always looks like it. They're making a try for it. It's appearing that way, studying, learning, but never coming to the knowledge of truth. Someone can do that all day long. Have to be aware of it. Learning, making an image of learning does not mean anything by itself, doesn't prove anything. Marked up, let me show you how old my Bible is. I've been a minister for 30 years. Here's my 30-year-old Bible. People literally do this, and they preach two gospels. All those markings in their Bible were nothing, worthless. They teach the lie and many other lies. All those markings, what on earth was that? Delusion? It's not even about marking. If someone wants to do a little bit of notes or whatever, but there's many doing it, and it's worthless. That's the point. And they mark it up. They got notes. It's old and wrinkled up, and that proves they're righteous in their mind. It literally thinks like that. It's not a joke. They literally believe that. They won't tell you that, like openly, but then they tell you, look, here it is, a video of a wrinkled up Bible with thousands of notes. Here it is. They show you. I've seen it. And then they teach two gospels, a divided, carnal, prideful, two gospel thing that the church world teaches. They just don't talk like that, but it's the same doctrine. It's the same meaning. There's a higher gospel and a lower gospel for those nasty Jews, that we hate, the spiritual Jews that they violently hate, for those dogs that keep the commandments, learning the commandments to keep in the heart. Like they can read that the law will be written in their heart. Unbelievable. And then you can choose that gospel, the lower gospel, depending if you're a flesh Jew. They're racist too. And then they divide based off of flesh. The barrier that man always was, the Father's breaking it down with the Jew and Gentiles, and they rebuild it. They rebuild what he destroyed officially. So someone is a new creation in Messiah, but it has to be worked out. It's not saying that out of being done. That's not the meaning. Never the meaning. If someone's a believer, that's true for them. Now they have to be worked out, because whoever is, their end is to be a new creation in the end. And they were foreordained and predestined from the foundation of the world, just like Messiah was. That will be their end. Now it has to be worked out. To do the Creator's will constantly has to be worked out for real. Here's all his word. Now we have to do it. Learn what it means to do. And then if you choose Paul's gospel, this is so vile to me. You're up in the celestial, I think that's the word, and terrestrial is the other gospel, the lower gospel. They'll rain down on the earth or something when they run to Jerusalem over there. And they'll be up in the celestials because of the Paul's gospel, because they're greater. They're greater than them. They're prideful. It's a prideful two gospel theory to lie. It's got pride built into it. Why is it prideful? Because it did not come from the Father. Dare anyone say the Father's truth is actually prideful? Zero pride in his truth, none. And if the doctrine is prideful, it came from man, came from the devil. Through man, coming from man, from self works, from carnal understanding. It divides the gospel like they can read and creates two gospels depending on the flesh even, depending even on the flesh. And maybe they'll say, well, some Gentiles, according to the flesh, could choose the lower gospel too. Whatever. They'll say whatever they need to make themselves sound right and good and true in the moment after they're cornered. Truth reveals and exposes them. I mean, it's no surprise that, the God-man, Jesus Christ, the God, the Creator, is their Lord of the two Gospels. Yes, the anti-Messiah spirit is their father. And they will not see it so long as that, people have to repent, seek the Creator. They're not doing that. That's why they got 50,000 notes in their Bible and show how righteous they are, because they don't receive from the Father. They are vile. And they say that what they really believe of actually receiving from the Father is vile to them. That's why it's vile, because it's vile to them. They mock it. They mock any kind of spiritual heavenly understanding that Messiah taught, that they deny and throw out in the gospel of the Jews, to throw out Messiah's words from their mind and heart. That's why they do that. Has to be told why. They don't even see why. That's why they do that, and they even throw the book of Revelation, some of them, as the gospel of the Jews. Why? Because Messiah's words are in there, and it says repent even, and they don't like that. So they throw that to the dogs too. Well, they forgot that all the words the apostles said. They're partial with the apostles' words like crazy, insane. That's their gospel now, the apostles' gospel. Right, and anyone that's continuing to do the works of the flesh will by no means enter the kingdom. Have they ever read him saying that? Have they ever read there is no Jew, there is no Gentile from your apostle doctrine, God apostle? There is no Jew, there's no Greek, there's no male, there's no female in the kingdom. Those are the apostles' words because he's teaching the truth. Did they forget that? Apparently there is Jews and Greeks with two gospels, depending if you're a Jew or Gentile. A divided carnal barrier and dividing the gospel into two carnal wicked things, depending on if you're a Jew or they don't believe those words or know what it means. The apostles' words, they don't believe it. They're lying when they say that they believe his words. That's for the church. Liars. They don't live by those words at all. They break it with their works. They do the exact opposite with their works and their doctrine. And if you were to question them, they won't answer. They'll attack or just say nothing because they can't answer. Then they'll go and continue the delusion. It won't stop. They didn't heed the call. They didn't heed the warning. Couldn't receive any correction that might start someone. You never know if the Father is willing to start, turn them around. But no, the many, they'll keep on going to the grave with their lies. It's like already over for so many. Don't know for who that is. I just know that's the truth. I don't know any individual. Never know. But that's just going to be the truth for the many. That I know. That's why someone should fear the Creator. How do they know if they're not in a delusion? And a bad one, getting worse and worse. We already need to constantly learn in Messiah, let alone not believing it's over. It's just nothing but lies and delusion in the heart and mind and spirit. And one of them is believing that the resurrection already happened, which is what the world generally says, the nations. They've always been doing that. That's why we read that. Died and went to heaven. That's what the nations say. I hear it all the time. I've heard it all the time, constantly, everywhere. People do that because they're in a delusion. It just needs to be said. They don't know what they're saying. It's just a comfort, carnal, false little comfort to block truth, because truth torments them inside day and night. They're tormented by the presence of the Lamb. These doctrines bury the truth inside them, and they try to guard it so that it's never on their mind, because that would torment them. So they have to believe lies that doesn't torment them, which causes death, which torments them in death. Death spiritual death, anxiety, all these things, death torments them, but that's a different kind of torment. They think by escaping the torment that they won't be tormented. No, they're getting tormented for escaping in their own mind the torment and the judgment. Father's not mocked, and he's not a fool. Anybody that saves their soul, they're dying. They have a death. Right now, they're dying. Saving their life, and they're losing it. This is not something that's to come, as in it's not true now. It is true right now already. Those words, Messiah's words. Anyone that saves their soul, they're dying. It's a contradiction. Well, that's how it's supposed to be, because evil is a contradiction and mixed up. It's stupid to do that. The only true way is dying in Messiah by denial of self and belief. And through this death that they run from, you have life. As long as someone running, they're going to die anyways. They're dying anyways right now. Jonah can't run. Nobody can actually do that. They have to die. Dying, you shall die. Adam and Eve. The literal, the dying, you shall die until you die. It's a process of dying and you die. Both are true. It's not one or the other. Which one is it? Dying or you will die? In the day you eat it, you shall surely die. Which one is it? Shall it surely die or dying? Which one? It's both. It's dying, you shall die, and then you will die. You start dying and then you die. It's all one in death. And I think the Hebrew, if it's literally translated like perfectly as you can, not minding like English so much, the same word is repeated a lot over and over, which doesn't really compute in English, but that's what I learned too, where it's like whatever you're doing with a verb, like let's say someone's walking, it's like the walker is walking, the one that's painting, the painter will paint, it would be like that a lot, I think. So that it doesn't make as much sense in our language like that. But it doesn't, that's just a whole nother thing. You don't really talk like that, dying, you shall die, do we? Not so much. But the understanding of his word has to be given from above anyways, and no translation is going to fix the problem by itself, as if that's in the way for the Creator. Now, through believing in him, he can work through things when it's for a good intention and purpose, but that by itself will do nothing if that's what someone thinks. It's not going to fix anything if they put their trust in other people's hearts and paper, letters, and ink. It's a disappointing thing to give up and just wait on the Creator for everything, for the carnal man. That's how he teaches. You don't even try. You don't try anymore. If he inspires you to read, then you read. If not, you don't. Then you wait. Maybe he gives while you read or some other time. It's not us studying and marking everything up and trying to remember all on ourselves. It's all worthless. He reminds us in spirit, like we read. He brings to memory things old and new. We ask for him to do that, and then he will. Because we can't remember all these things spiritually. It's an abomination to think we can. That's speaking for believers. That wouldn't even make sense for unbelievers because they could remember whatever they study and remember, and we're not talking about that. If King David didn't rise after Messiah's resurrection, then when did it happen? In presidents of the institution, lying snakes. When did it happen then? It happened a few years later. Did they got the scriptures for that there would be a resurrection 40 years after Messiah's resurrection? Where is it? And any other kind of lie, it runs into its own deceit. We have to see it. And if it's a lie, It's already caught. We just have to see it. It's already contradicting itself and stupid and blind. They just don't see it. And if you tell them they don't want to see it, they harden. It goes, their heart hardens and it turns away fierce with anger and wrath. If it gets told again, it hardens more. It gets told again, it hardens more. 7 more times, 8 more times, it hardens more until the plagues are complete. They're in serious death for doing those works. They're doing those works because they're in death and rebellion. Otherwise, they'd never do that. They never lie to millions of people with these monstrous lies and deceive them. They're doing that because they've already been in death for a long time and they're getting worse. They're doing that because they're in rebellion. Yes, that's why they're doing it. They hate the truth. They have nothing to do with it. And they are cowardly fearful of the Creator for the evil way. No actual proper fear for the Creator. They're Adam and Eve cowardly fear inside. These doctrines all block that. And, oh no, I'm being exposed. I'm being exposed. What do? Get some fig clothing, cover yourself. Now I got confidence in self that nobody can see me. Shh, nobody can see. I'm God. And it echoes through the mountains. I'm Elohim, I'm Elohim, I'm Elohim. And it goes to the faces that they carved in stone. Wicked. These are the gods. These are the Elohims you worship. And we spent millions of dollars and tons of hours carving in stone the gods that you worship. We're in delusion. We even do the literal things that we read of, frighteningly so, let alone spiritually. And these are, worship sites to give true worship to the false Elohims. False worship. To them it's true. And they will go, wow, it's amazing, and they look at the stars and they go, wow, I'm dismayed, just like all the nations always have been, and I worship it in my heart. I just don't tell anyone if I'm a Christian. But I really worship the earth, my house, money, other people, my leaders, presidents, and no worship goes towards the Creator. All those other things are supposed to drop in someone's heart. Then we can do whatever is right and good that he teaches us how to do whatever is right and good. No idols, no Elohims, besides one. And we're not to worship Messiah as Elohim either, as the Trinity doctrine already is built in to do that spiritually. It's already sin to worship Messiah as the Creator, because that's breaking. You shall have no other Elohims and no idols, and not worship and trust man in the heart in this way at all. Because Messiah is not the Creator, he cannot be worshipped as the Creator, only through the truth. There's a difference. He can't be worshipped as the Creator. This is an idol. Becomes an idol then, a false Elohim, false worship. How could they say they don't do that? All their works prove it. Look at the works. Talk about it all the time. It's in them. It's important to them. Of course it's worship. It's real worship in spirit. The spiritual war, not flesh, not with the swords and shields, literally, as of old. Those things all mean something. It's a literal war constantly, that they want your worship. The enemy wants. What do you do to take someone down? Spiritual sin. That's it. Could be anything. That's the true death. Flesh doesn't matter so much. Even that could be a deception too, and it could be a massive sin, but that's not the point. It doesn't need to be that. Just start believing a little lie and it starts getting worse and worse, and that'll be a judgment, death, confusion, the grave. And it could be anything. And someone gets deceived. Why? Because they didn't watch and pray. And so then because they don't obey, those words and not learning it, they have to receive the judgment and penalty for not obeying those words and thinking the Creator can be mocked, as if those words are said in vain, Messiah's words. No, it's not in vain. Anyone that's not doing that's already delusional and deceived. And if a believer gets tricked or deceived, that's the whole point. We have to come out of it to seek the truth only, so that he shows us any kind of corruption or leaven inside anything. You ask to reveal that, if it be so, within. And if we ask with the heart to the Creator, he will in due time do that. That's why Messiah teaches to ask. Is he going to give someone a snake for asking for something good? And here I tricked you. To come out of Egypt, come out of this world in deception, which is already us deceived fully, and then we have to come out of it. So that means it's going to look like that. It's going to look like that here a little, here, there a little. A little bit of shame here and there, a little bit of sin here and there, cutting off constantly until someone's perfected. It's interesting, we read in 2 Samuel, I think, that's one of the verses I have where we read about from the seed of David, he'll raise up from the seed of David, from a fruit of his body. We might read loins or like bowels from other, depending on the translation, but from the fruit of the body, from within, from the seed of David according to the flesh, which always means natural, fleshly things, literal things. How is someone born according to the flesh? Everyone should know. And that's how Messiah is born, in the flesh, according to the flesh. And the NIV, for example, because it uses the critical text, sometimes those words are not in there at all. Or when it is, they just choose not to translate it like that, because they seem to have a problem with it most of the time. And in 1 John 4, the critical text doesn't say anyone that does not believe Messiah came in the flesh, that does not acknowledge that, is not of the Father, is not of the Spirit. But it says anyone that does not acknowledge Messiah, Yehoshua, that's all it says, is not of the Father, is not of Elohim. The first verse says according to the flesh, that acknowledge he is. Second verse says anyone who just doesn't acknowledge Messiah is not of Elohim. That's what that says. It doesn't have anyone who doesn't acknowledge that Messiah came according to the flesh is not of Elohim. Massive difference. This is not just unbelief in Messiah, the true Messiah. This is something specific about those that claim to believe in Messiah, but they don't believe in the true Messiah that came in the flesh. And it's deleted from there. I mean, it's not in there in that text. The verse above it says according to the flesh, and then the second one doesn't. It's like broken. I see it. It should be in there. It's a very specific thing, that the church world doesn't teach. They do not believe the true Messiah came in the flesh according to the flesh at all. Zero. And they'll say, yes, we do. Yes, we do. You're crazy, blind. Because their definition of that, to hide the truth, is just that he's a flesh and blood man on earth. They'll say that. That's not the meaning. It's not what it means. Many are false. Many are of anti-messiahs here. Many don't acknowledge this. And yet, what in reality, no one breaks this truth that we read, that many will. They call the Father a liar. Let them be liars. They already imply that 1 John 4 is a lie, that there's not many false prophets that do not acknowledge he comes in the flesh and are not of his Spirit. There's nobody, they say. That's what they would imply. And never has been. Maybe for a very select few that have some crazy belief. Oh, but what it means? Many. for hundreds of years don't believe Messiah came in the flesh. All of a sudden, the truth is true. Let the Father be true and every man a liar. They don't believe in their heart at all that Messiah came from the seed of David, according to the flesh, in the flesh, from the body fruit of David, and is the offspring of David. Are we lying or something by saying what we read? It's incredible. With Messiah saying, I am the offspring of David. So all these verses someone will destroy and ask me a question or somebody else a question. But what about this, says the snake, the devil? What about the Pharisees being asked, whose son am I? Am I a son of David? And they think they just did away with 500 scriptures because they asked one question that they don't understand. That's how it works with everything, all of it in darkness. That's how darkness works. It asks one question and doesn't read, doesn't look, doesn't believe, doesn't look into 100 truths and verses for that truth. It does away with all of it and asks one question, and by asking that question, they think they just did away with all of it and all the witnesses. The Messiah rising on the first day of the week and all the witnesses, and it's the beginning of the new creation on day one. Day one, let there be light, and Messiah rose at light at the crack of dawn in the morning. But what, and all these verses that are agreeing with each other and agreeing with scripture that are types of that, with tabernacles or anything else, the feast, the first fruits feast, the resurrection day in the morning, after the Sabbath day, after the Sabbath, the next day. That's what we read about first fruits, not at night on the 16th, at the end of the night in darkness. He rose. He rose at whatever a new day is, which is right at the crack of dawn. Light. And anybody that's risen in Messiah now is dividing light from darkness, meaning, becoming light and dividing the darkness spiritually. Anybody that's not risen in Messiah cannot do that spiritually, because that comes from above. The best they can do is try to divide literal light and darkness. That's it, which isn't the understanding, which will not please the Father at all, because that's not real from the heart. All these people are violent when you try to give them truth. These groups and organizations, they turn on you like the devil came out of them every single time, and all their servants will attack you because they are being exposed also by seeing the truth. They can't imagine that they've been that badly deceived and don't want to go there. That's how much enmity they have against the Father, is shown by attacking his people and murdering them in all kinds of ways, or just pure straight up ignoring, which is murder, which is no care or love at all, just thinking of itself only. That's all it is. That's what they did to Messiah. That's all they can do. Forgive them. They know not what they do. They truly don't. If they did truly see what they were doing, they'd be in awe and wonder, and they wouldn't be doing that continually. But go to the president of the institution and ask him why King David isn't risen, after Messiah was risen. And 500 other things that could be asked that they hide and want people not to know, and then they hope you don't ask. They do all this sorcery within themselves, cursing and spiritual sorcery. Because how is it that nobody's asking over there? It's a sorcery. That's how. He works their minds according to what his sorcery wants, which is, I don't want to be spotted. I don't want to be seen for what I am and what I do. And he prays and hopes that way. And then he sends that out. It's a spiritual war. It's not a physical, literal war like that. Natural war. let me get out my gun and shotgun just in case, and someone in Christianity jokes as if they'll be ready to do that. They'll be ready to blow their enemies' heads off, like they're ready to send them to hell forever. I didn't know lambs kill wolves. Problem. Deet, 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 deet. Lambs don't kill wolves, do they? Think the picture is false that the Father's given us? Messiah didn't kill his enemies, did he? Ready with a sword, to take it out and cut their heads off. One of his disciples tried to do that, and he got angry. Righteous anger. Put that back, wicked. What are you doing? That's your understanding of dying for me, instead of with me? Big difference. Ready to die for you, fighting carnal war, not ready to die spiritually with him and to deny itself, not ready for that yet. Everybody's ready for war. That's what people lust for, ready to pull out the sword and kill people for the kingdom, for Messiah. It's what his disciples were first, first the natural, the wicked, the natural flesh, then the spiritual. First all prophecy natural, then spiritual prophecy. So in one sense, everything was fulfilled, and yet it still needs to be fulfilled. It is being fulfilled, needs to be fulfilled. The president of the institution doesn't know, doesn't understand. Gets red in the face if anybody gives him truth. Gets bloody violent because it's done a lot of deception and damage to millions. Truth to it is getting more and more of abomination every day that goes by. Just like lies are literally getting more and more hated by anybody that knows the Father and viciously put away. Every single day, those lies are getting nastier and more wicked, just like good and truth is getting more wicked to those that are in the lie. It's getting worse. At 80, they hate the truth more than they did at 50, and that's a judgment. That's a promise, if that's the path they're in. They have to get harder and stonier and worse, diseased, spiritually diseased and dumber. Do more insane works because they're filled up with wrath by the time all those years of being hardened, and no forgiveness in the heart. But especially someone that's deceiving millions, I can't imagine what their life is like within. They're in insane unrest. They cannot stop. They have to be doing something constantly. It's a judgment. It is torment to have the true peace. So they have none. So they have the opposite of peace, which is unrest, spiritually and even physically. No peace inside for deceiving and killing millions and tricking them and taking away their hope. No peace, no rest, and they don't deserve it because that's a righteous judgment by the Father. They deserve a double judgment. Give them 2 cups of judgment for that many people they destroy and kill. Yes, they do deserve judgment. We even read, they deserve it. The saints say they deserve it because we're talking about the Father's righteous judgment, not our retaliation and vengeance, not our works and judgment and vengeance. We read in Proverbs, don't say to yourself, I will repay, I will take vengeance. Only the Creator can do this, not us. That is someone that does that, they don't realize that they just proved that their works prove that they believe they're God, the Creator. It needs to be seen and remembered, taking vengeance on someone is proving in that moment you're doing some God works, some Elohim works, which we have to die to more and more. But, that's what it is, though. Of course, man's not going to believe that's prideful, insanely prideful, and in Elohim mode. Taking vengeance is, I am the Creator. Yes, it is. And if I do it, then I did that work. That's what that work is. You have to repent. That's what man is. He's God, the Creator. I will judge. I am the creator and I know what that person deserves. Plus, I'm doing it because I'm steaming, wrathful, and angry and insecure and shaking violently inside when someone does evil to self apart from the creator, because it's empty and dark. It can only think darkness. Now it has to go attack because of its, how dare you touch me? It's God in its own mind. That's why it gets angry, because it is a God in its own mind. That's what all vengeance is from man, from us, is Elohim. It's sitting in the temple where he ought not. Let the reader understand. Let the reader beware that Messiah is talking about everyone. Yeah, this can't be revealed to unbelieving the natural man, and it wasn't revealed to anyone before Messiah. It was sealed. Revelation of Messiah in us, the unveiling of Messiah, is unsealing all the seals in us as we go. That was sealed until the time of Messiah. Daniel was sealed from even the saints, the old covenant saints. It was sealed from everyone. First the natural, then the spiritual. First, read the letters and self-righteously keep the letters, which doesn't take any power from above. Actually, even that, even given a delusion, man could not see what the commandments mean in the heart. They just can read the letters and think whatever comes to mind, and that's the understanding. When will people believe that they can't believe whatever sin is, that they won't ever think it's sin in their own heart? They won't think it's sin. That's what it means. That's the enmity. That is who man is first. Whatever sin is, they literally don't think it is in their heart. It's pretty frightening. You have to do the Creator's will to become that more and more and more and more and more, and the old man die more and more and more and more. Taking vengeance, no, that can't be that I'm God. I'm doing actual literal pride to the Creator in heaven. It's pride. It's written in heaven. It's pride. They don't believe that. Doing the works of the devil, works of the heart, you shall be as Elohim's. Right in the beginning. He declares the end from the beginning. What's the difference at the end is the beginning, destruction, darkness. You are Elohim. Yes, that's the devil's trick. In your heart, in your mind, in spirit, you are Elohim. It's a lie. That's the devil. That's the words. And there is no truth in the enemy. So those words are a lie. It's a trick. It's a lie. Twisted. And your eyes will be open. It's twisted. It's mixed. It's wicked. It's a lie. Their eyes were not opened. It's a trick. And if we're not learning from the Father above what these things mean, then these words are going to be an abomination to someone because they're living what we're saying. Their eyes weren't opened. It's a lie. The devil has no truth in him. It's a trick. That is the deception and lie. It looks like it's true because it's something about their eyes opened. That's what deception is. It's not what he's saying it is for real. There's no blessing for breaking the Creator's voice. So when you eat of it, your eyes shall be open. Well, that something good is going to happen to you. You will be like Elohim. Your eyes will be opened if you eat it. It's a twisted, mixed, wicked trick and masquerade of the truth. They were darkened. The only truth about their eyes being open is just being able to see something about their nakedness. Yeah, but the enemy speaks out of deception. This was going to be death, a judgment, nothing good, although the Father works good out of it. That's the truth. But this thing here, sin, is not good. Father didn't bless them for sinning, like the enemy is making it sound like you will be blessed for sinning. It's a trick. You shall be like Elohim. Seeing something about, does the Father see that he's naked and a sinner? So now Adam and Eve see that they're sinners. That's being like the Creator now, right? Their eyes are opened and the Creator sees he's a naked sinner and wicked. What a crafty trick. That's snake. That's what snakes are. It always sounds good and looks good and pleasing to the flesh. That's the trick. It looks something like the truth. It's standing right next to it, replacing it. But it's a lie. Messiah says there's no truth in the enemy. None. Remember, the lie includes mixing the truth. That means it could have something that is true if you were to isolate it and discern it by itself. That's not what truth is. Mixing is the sin and lie. There's no truth in the devil. Even if there's little bits of truth within the lie, that's what the mixed thing is. It takes the truth and stirs it up with the lie. You can't even do anything else. Only truth exists. Therefore, the lie is fake. It doesn't stand. It's not real. It's going to be utterly destroyed. It doesn't stand spiritually now. So then there is no such thing except truth. So the only thing the enemy can do is take that truth and mix it. So it's going to resemble little bits and pieces of truth here and there scattered like an explosion. And, what people are going to try to put all the individual pieces back together? Can't put sin back together. It has to repent and die to who and what it is. The world's going to bring peace on earth and put all these divisions under the anti-Messiah spirit and squeeze it together and bring judgment on them. They think that that's going to bring what? They're going to bring the judgment on them continually. Going to be judgment on all the nations for its wickedness once for all. No peace is coming. Not in this age, not because of the mankind, not because of the worldly kingdoms. Someone only has peace if they do the Creator's will. And nobody knows about it. Doesn't even matter. They have peace. They have life within. And they're not making and seeking this false, wicked, worldly peace that cannot be so. Unless they don't believe Messiah's words that he came to bring a sword and not this peace, like we read, to divide between the light and darkness, not make the darkness one and mix it with the light. He came to do exactly what we read in Genesis 1, the first day, or day one. He came to divide with the sword the light and darkness, and separate his people. Now, we're starting now, working now. Division. Yes, he came to bring division. It's called set apart. That's the good division. Then there's evil division. If earthly father is in unbelief, he came to set apart son from father. If earthly mother is in unbelief, he came to set apart daughter from earthly mother. And a man's enemies is that of his own household, because they have nothing to do with the Creator, just a worthless image, and don't care at all. There's no care in darkness. And they find and try to create doctrines that do away with the judgment, do away with truth, do away with things to come. And that's a strong judgment, man. The stronger the lie, the more massively wicked it is, the stronger the judgment on these people. They have no peace and rest for what they do, no matter how much they try to look like it behind the camera. Still could see it, because it's to only be seen in spirit that they're not doing so well. Not doing well for killing people spiritually and murdering, through lying, through stealing and robbing from people. Just because the world says that truth will set you free, what it said sets someone free, because it said the words. That's who man is, because he said the words. Must be true. No, only truth from the Father above, through Messiah, whatever truth is, that's going to set someone free. Nothing else, not lies and trickery masquerading for truth. That won't set someone free. That's just a theory at best for someone in darkness. They don't live those words. If you're a slave to sin, how is that free? If you're a slave to sin in reality continually and never coming out of it from prison, what on earth? That's hypocrisy to speak about being set free. Messiah came to set the captives free. From what? Sin. Sin and death, not theories and doctrines with words, reality. Anybody that seeks to do the Father's will, then they'll know whether it's true teaching or not. They'll just know, because it'll be given. As long as there's no light around someone, it could look like everything is going fine and dandy. Put a little light next to it and the wrath comes out and the devil comes out. That's what this world is. As long as it's got nothing but darkness around it, it can smile and masquerade behind a camera and make it look like it wants world peace for everyone. Wicked liars. It's the last thing that they want. They're literally in a delusion, following the delusion. It doesn't even know what it wants or what someone's doing. That's how bad it is. It's in confusion, but nobody actually believed it, right? Nobody believed the judgment of confusion when it applies to them, that they're literally confused and don't know what they even are or what they want. It's why women say all the time, don't they? Even if they don't say it out loud. Confused. I'm confused. They don't know what I want. It's a judgment. It's what the whole world is. Attack this, attack that, attack this, attack that, trying to hop the fence, go under it, find another way. Nope, doesn't work. Judgment, death, confusion is the only reality. The world is, it creates an image that it's what? Wise, because why? Because it's confused. It's trying to hide it's confused. It can't hide. No one can hide from the Creator. Can't hide from light. You get close to it, exposed. Everyone will be exposed. That thought that they wouldn't be exposed all their life. No, it's coming. They'll be exposed to all of them. And doing away with the resurrection is not going to fix their problem, because it's no reality and no truth. And they can try to believe that his word teaches it. It doesn't. And somewhere deep down inside, they know when it's given, but they don't want to believe it. So they harden up. They harden up. It's nothing but lying contradictions. One of the nastiest things that there is, blind. Have they ever thought, what if this is a huge, massive lie? Have they ever even considered it? That their whole entire life is a lie and that they only teach lies? Have they ever asked that question? And no, they haven't. They don't care. Of course not. If it comes up and it just goes away instantly, it's not actually really considered. Because every deceiver goes, yeah, I considered it. And then they say they're not lying. That's what deception is. So it's going to look the same across the board with everyone. That's what we'll see, the same thing. It'll look the same. Learning how this works, it's nasty, because that's what pride is. It doesn't believe anything that's true. It doesn't believe it's deceived at all. Someone has to see that they're blind and nothing. Then they'll start to see. As long as they keep trying to hide that they can't see anything of themselves, they're blind while they say they see. That's what Messiah said. That's the judgment. You say you see, you're blind. Because you say you see, your sin remains. But it sounds good, doesn't it, to say I see? Well, Messiah hates the truth because he says it's a judgment if you say you see. Isn't seeing good? Look how easy it is to create the lie. Isn't seeing good? And then you try to work a few other things, maybe throw in some scriptures. So light is good. Light is to see, and seeing is good. Therefore, Messiah is saying, because he says, because you say you see, you're made blind. Messiah is evil. He hates light and hates seeing. He proved it right there. You can't say you see. He hates seeing. He hates to see. He's wicked and the wicked are righteous. They're talking about light. They want to see. They say they see. This is good. Nasty. It's like the 180 trick right there. That's why we have to get understanding from the Creator, or else, like, what if someone just believed what I said? How will they know if it's true or not without seeking the Creator to tell them if it's true, to show them so they can see spiritual things in the dark, to be brought to light so that they can see the trick too, because every lie is a contradiction. But if we can't see, then we can't see how it's a contradiction, and someone might believe it because they don't see how it's a lie. There's ways to see these things, There's proof. It's not just a wild guess. The Creator shows us how something works for real. But darkness thinks you can never see. It doesn't believe anybody's being healed. That's why we read the Pharisees saying, who did this to you? You weren't born blind. You're just faking it. Where is the person? Where is the person? Get him. Where is he? And look at the mom and dad. They have a cowardly fear over this wicked authority. Go tell him he's of age, but they're like afraid, cowardly afraid, because they throw people out of the synagogue. Because they're a bunch of masquerading devils. That's how they have to show they have power, by being a lion, killing another lion's young, sitting on a rock, smirking inside. But you really can't see a lion smile that much, can you? Oh, it is. It's a prideful little beast when it kills the two little lion cubs, whatever, sitting on the rock looking down at the mother. We just took dominance right here. We just owned your little cubs and had a meal, killing our own kind. It thinks that's good. No, they're just animals. They're animals in a curse. This is wicked. This is evil. They're beasts. And their killing is good to them. That's how they stay alive, killing. Is that how believers should stay alive? Killing, eating people? They eat my people. They eat my people. We read, they eat my people's sin. Could be used for good if someone believes in the Creator, but their intention is evil. How do you eat people? Spiritually. That's what's happening. When someone murders, they're feeding their flesh. They're like, and they're in rage. But it's filling up the flesh. That's a temporary fix to the itch, the incurable itch, unless the Father cures it. We ask him to cure this thing so that you don't have this itch to go and fulfill evil. Then when you do it, you think it satisfies it, right? Oh, I just ate some burger or whatever. Fix the problem. Let me just eat it. And then what happens? You get hungry again. It's a trick. And it has to go over and over again. Tricked like that, sin. Until the true water and food comes from above to actually fill someone so that they don't have to go and do evil and fill up that way. You get nervous inside the wicked way, the wide gate way. You get antsy, itchy, like it's something like being hungry. Don't eat for 3 days all of a sudden and see what that feels like, So this desperation kicks in spiritually, and you have to go do evil so you can sleep tonight. The wicked don't sleep unless they do evil. It could be doing evil through on the internet. They're murdering someone through with their heart and mind. They don't have to even be there physically, as long as it's evil. And then that's like their temporary fill, like kind of hard to sleep at night if you're starving. So then if you eat something, then you can like go to sleep. Just a picture, But the water from above is so you don't thirst, And then hunger. This is real. This bread from heaven is a teaching, teaching the children that didn't learn what it really meant. We're supposed to see it, learn it. That's not the true bread. Messiah is saying the bread from heaven is not the true bread. Right, because that's actually the truth. The Father gave this bread out of that being the truth. But it sounds like maybe he's attacking the Father's word. When that's the only truth. It was never the true bread. It's a type, a teaching of what the Father does. That's what we're, in the desert, he'll feed you. He'll do the impossible thing. They grumble and they complain, and then they start wanting to go back to sin, Egypt, and slavery, sin, Egypt, the world. At least over there we had these, whatever that we read. You complain along the way, spiritually, the spiritual path, complaining like them. People think that's not them, like they'll never do that. You're supposed to find out that is you, and then go, oh, I better not be doing that. That's the only true way. Those that never find out they do that, they remain in sin. They never find out it was them. If the kingdom of heaven is not eating and drinking, then what is the feast days for? For eating and drinking. Spiritual. Feasting. The true meaning, the heavenly meaning, feasting from above. Unless Messiah's words are in vain, the Father and Messiah will sup with them. When? Now? Yeah, now. It doesn't mean like eating is wicked all of a sudden. Just this is the heavenly meaning of the feast. And what's to stop that now that I think about it? The thoughts come, what's to stop that from happening at any time? It doesn't work like the way the world works, does it? Based on carnal things, rules, objects, walls, barriers. He can throw down bread from heaven anytime. Anywhere, I would believe, anywhere, anytime. Well, who knows how much we can't see? Who knows what it is to be like Messiah at his, during his ministry. He's perfected. He sees everything the way it needs to be seen and hears from the Father the way it needs to be heard. I would think even instantly it's so clear every hour, just like perfectly hearing the way it needs to be. Whereas like, you have to get to that point. Until then, you're easily tossed around and controlled and ruled over by people. Or anybody, you as in all of us, anyone. Easily tossed by every wind of doctrine. controlled. But those that are in that position, they want it to be so, they want it. What are you going to do with someone that wants the lie? What are you going to do? It's a good thing there's a lake of fire, judgment to come also for mankind. Thrown in the lake of fire after the 1,000 years. This is good. That means they'll die to the old man too. And dying to the old man produces life. This is the second death. Appointed once to die, then the judgment. But those that die in Messiah, the judgment has already begun. The first fruits, early beginning of the new creation is belief right now in him. But for the rest that don't believe, it comes after their death, appointed for once for man to die, not 2 times then this judgment. One is natural, one spiritual, because his people are spiritual. So the beginning is for us now, going from natural to spiritual, but it's happening first for believers now. And those that don't believe, it'll be sometime after their death in the second resurrection. And not the first resurrection for them. A little delayed. He doesn't leave out Joseph or Benjamin or the 11 brothers or whatever. He doesn't leave 2 or 3 of them out, says screw them. He makes it all work together for good, all of it. Well, he already did it. He already saved everyone. He created the creation, and then it all rested, all of it, 6 days, and then all the creation rested. None was left out. It's not done yet, but it's done as in the foreknowledge. Messiah was slain literally before he was slain, with an understanding that to the Father was like already so, it's already done. But then there came a time where it is finished, and it met the reality of the prophecy. Now, what was finished has to be worked out through time. That the church world does not teach the true gospel at all. The first resurrection is all the saints. I don't read anywhere in any of the scriptures or prophecies about being mixed with unbelievers. It's separate, first and second. The saints in the age to come, at the end of this age or age to come. The end of this age is the beginning of the next age, right at the same time. And then after the next age, the rest of the dead are made alive. What would be the 8th day after the 7, or the beginning of the new creation. It's just the beginning for the whole creation. Day 1, day 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And after the 1,000 years, it goes to the beginning again for the whole world. Recreating the beginning of the new creation. They have to learn what light and darkness is. I don't know how he'll manifest and do all that, but it's true. What the saints already went through in this life, this age, this wicked age of, 6,000 years or whatever. Well, not whatever, 6 days. And on the 7th day, first resurrection. One day early. Must be so. And that day doesn't seem so far away. It's almost 2,000 years since Messiah's time. And if the ages are divided in threes, twos, 2, 4, 6, if the kingdom is built for about 2,000 years, it's it's not too far. That's what also the wicked people, that's the wicked teachers, they're at the greater fault that teach that Messiah is already, the resurrection's already happened and everything. They teach that 40 years, the kingdom was 40 years, the Gentiles being called in, grafted in for 40 years only, and then it was over. Then they have to try to fit the reality of their life now with their contradicting doctrine. Which one is it? Did the Gentiles get fulfilled already or not? Well, both. It's mixed. Let's try to say it's both. Evil. Their doctrine says it's over already a long time ago, but then they'll have to try to say it's not. They literally have to go against their own stupid doctrine. Or else they would have to disappear. Their existence is a contradiction then, and the things they do, church world, contradiction. Was this something new? No. Why do we read that? Because man doesn't learn from his previous generations. It's nothing new. We read about it. They toss that out in the garbage, though, like it's wicked. By reading that some already destroying their faith, notice what this does. Overtaking their faith has taught that the resurrection has already happened. And these two people, or whatever we read of, they did wicked work. They overthrew the faith of some. It's not good. They're murdering them. Never forget what that is to teach that. It's overthrowing their faith for real. It breaks and destroys everything inside them. So then we read, that day will not come until, that man of sin that's understanding what this prophecy means spiritually, until it's manifested that everyone is the man of sin. Yet spiritually, until Messiah's spirit comes in us, this man of sin is in the way, in pride. It's all one prophecy, working true constantly spiritually, and then this day won't come until that manifestation is finished fully, which it's shaping up for, which many people are even saying and talking about. That's all their mind is on, though. So many people. And the kingdom of heaven is peace and righteousness, and there's just a bunch of turmoil going on. What this thing is spiritually, to let it manifest, is just some violent person that's so incredibly prideful that just wants to rule, which is to want to destroy everyone and kill everyone, because it's like the devil fully manifested 100%. People can't see that's mankind's works right there, spiritually. But without some restraint, that's what it'll be. With a little bit of restraint, which we do read something about restraining until a certain time, when that restraint is let loose a little bit, then this anti-Messiah spirit wickedness will start to form closer and closer to its end goal. which will be to, destroy everyone, rule, control, dominate, and destroy everyone, especially believers, and find where they are and destroy them for not worshiping the image of the beast. What's a mark? Worshiping man with your heart, worshiping self, our own image, worshiping others. But, maybe forcing it, maybe starting to force it at the end, or just waxes worse. This can't be faked or real. Someone lies, they lie. They just did evil. Someone does what someone tells them to, they did worship it. Even if they're saying in their mind, no, I'm not worshiping it. I'm not worshiping it. Yeah, you did. Because you did what someone else told you to do. Or else, do this or else. You worshiped their image, their gods that they created. You succumb to them. That is the image of the beast, worshiping it. That's how someone could get someone, I suppose, if they enforce it. Worship some god man. What are they going to say? God has returned through the anti-Messiah spirit. The God of gods, greater than all other gods. Well, it's what people already believe in their heart. It'll just manifest, that's all. They already believe Messiah is the creator and God. Of course they would believe this when it comes. Instantly. Even if they say they wouldn't. It's already believed. It's already deceived. It's not coming in some way that it's not already deceived and already over. Someone in the delusion. I mean, they're in the delusion. What do you mean it's coming someday? If they're in the delusion already today, how is it coming for them? It's like it's already over. It's just that someone in delusion will just keep going down further to the delusion. That's all. It won't come out of. What did Messiah say on the last great day of the feast? Why we read that in Revelation, the tree of life, come all, the same words basically. Everyone has to find out for themselves that they're wicked and no good, which is part of what will happen in the judgment. It has to be real. Can't be forced or faked in someone's heart. The disciples have to want to stay and not go away. That's how he works in his people, makes it real, not fake, while he's sovereign. What's someone going to do? Tell the creator to stop? Stop it. Stop it. Just like a little worm crying, stop. I hate your plan. I hate true love. I want my enemies to die and be tortured forever, just like Jonah. Forget repentance and forgiveness. Oh, curse my life and die, that Nineveh repents. Stop it. I could just imagine that picture. Stop. We read he does whatever he pleases and no one can stop him. And he will conquer everyone. Conquer death and wickedness, all of it. He's going to do it through his people, like he's doing it through Messiah, through his kingdom that will judge the world. Where did the apostle get that? Is he making that up? Or is that in his word? Maybe many times over. That teaching's in there right in everyone's face until it's given to see that the saints will judge the world. And if you can't even judge anything about some tiny little matter now, how will you judge the world? How's that going to work? Don't you know, he says, that you will judge the world? All wicked, don't judge me. Because his people, the nation, judges kingdoms. First the natural, then the spiritual. It already happened. It's coming. It is to come. It was, it is to come. Everyone that said they wouldn't bow, they're going to do it. They just read about themselves, including us if we don't endure to the end. Everyone that said in the world they wouldn't bow, like the Joseph's brothers, they will, and they won't even remember those words until after they do it. That's how much power the Creator has, and they don't have any. They won't even remember until after they bow. Then they might remember a little after that. So can't do anything with the Creator's plan. They said they wouldn't. Well, too bad. Was it for evil or was it for good? Which one? Someone with a t-shirt that says, I will not bow. You know what? Not surprising. They're just doing what Joseph's brothers did. It's an abomination to bow to Joseph. They think this is evil because they only see pride. Still, they don't see any good way. Every knee will bow, every tongue will confess. Yes, Yehoshua, Messiah, is exactly who the Father always said he is. I suppose, after every knee bows and confesses and all of this, just throw them in a fire pit? They don't even ask the question? So after they bow and confess, which is never fakery with the Father. Father never does fakery or wickedness. That's the devil's way. After they confess for real with their heart, he's going to throw them in a literal fire and torture them. So that means he's a sadistic, insanely insecure, prideful Elohim that only kept them alive just so that he gets the satisfaction of bowing the knee to him. It's talking about itself. It believes that because it is that. The person and peoples believing that in the church world, teaching that, believe that because they are that. They're talking about their own God that they built, the golden calf. They're talking about themselves, the image that they worship, self. They built a calf, which is a beast, which is representing building a God in your own image, Elohim in your own image. And it's a calf because they're a beast in the heart. So they built their Elohim in their heart. And then they say that's Elohim's doctrine. That's God's doctrine. But it's actually theirs, to their own, to them. And they believe that because that's what they are. They want people to burn in fire and bow down to them with the wicked, prideful, bow on your knees to me. Let me steal something from you so that you beg me. Please beg me, beg me, beg me. Get on your knees and beg because I stole it from you so that you can beg me. I already planned that in my mind. I'm not going to tell you about it. And if you dare say anything about what I'm doing, the beast will come out. How dare you touch me? How dare you say that I'm doing exactly what I'm doing? I'm God. You can't tell me anything. Yeah, that's man right there. Steal something so that you beg them. They want you to beg. They want people to get on the knees and thank them and worship them for what they do. They only give gifts and do things so that you worship them and beg them for mercy too. They won't show any if you were to beg for mercy. They're their own God that they created. They're the ones that want people to burn in fire, putting it all on the Creator. Wicked blasphemy. Of course they can't admit that. Of course they're going to say on videos and everything and tell people, I would never want anyone to burn. My God does. The Bible says so. Nice try, wicked. You want that. You created that. You're in a delusion and need to repent. You do what the many called of Israel do and say we're saved and came out of Egypt while you're in delusion, creating your own Elohims. You do what they do, what the many always have done, for rebellion, for actually being in rebellion to the Creator. You receive all these wicked doctrines as a punishment and try to blame it onto God, onto the Creator, by creating an image and saying it's this is what does this. Yet don't forget you built it. Doesn't work. If I build a golden calf and say the golden calf is doing this, will do this to you. No, that's a delusion. The person that built it put the doctrine onto the golden calf and says it will do that to them. Scary thing is it's happening constantly. People are out there saying God is doing this and will do this. But what, are they in delusion? No, of course not. No, there's nobody in delusion. Nobody's in sin. Creator's a liar and man is true. And the divisions are all one. And they're all right while they're divided. Wake up, mankind. Slap self in the face and look in the mirror and see what thou art and how evil thou art, how evil I am. No good. No good. Garbage. The second death has to happen to believers now in their life as a process of believing. You have to die to that old man that's wicked, which is everyone. There's no partiality. There's no pointing fingers. There's no condemnation in this way because it's everyone. And it's just as equally evil as anybody else. And he has mercy on whom he has mercy. Some go into more insanity, literal evil, and some a little less. It doesn't change the truth that everyone's done a lot of stealing, a lot of lying, a lot of murder, a lot of adultery, a lot of everything like this in the heart. And if he unleashes the beast in someone and lets the restraint a little off, they go. That was all restraint for not murdering people and shooting kids at schools. That was a little bit of restraint, a little bit of good the Creator's doing for that beast. And unthankful for it. It takes pride and it says, I'm doing this. It gets confused. I'm the Creator. I'm made in his image. I kill, I destroy, I take life, I give back life. I'm God, the Creator. Oh, how many times does someone have to be owned by the Creator over and over again and they pretend it never happened? How many times? Over and over and over and over again. So to live in reality is to follow him and not credit our own righteousness for doing something. That's reality. Delusion is the Creator working things through whoever and taking credit for it through pride. Well, they don't see how things work in spirit, so then this is an abomination. They don't see that the Creator is in charge, and then this is an abomination. What's so great about the last day, when it's going to be about people suffering forever with no end? The second resurrection, the last great day after the 1,000 years. What's so great about this day? Well, it's great to man that the many will be tortured forever. This is why that's why the Creator calls it great, right? That's why it's called great. Great actually means wickedness. Shh, I'm the devil. Just right from the beginning. Eyes opened actually means you're blind. Seeing like the Creator sees actually means you just go blind. Is that what that is? That's what turn great into evil. Turn hope into hopelessness. 180. What about the Creator making it like this so that everyone can hope? So all those that had this faint hope, their worst fears come upon them for eternity. Do people even believe this? For real? Or are they just in death and they don't believe anything? They live, they die. I mean, I suppose the ones that actually start believing hell on a deeper level, they have to start going crazy. So in order to keep from going crazy, you can't really believe it or focus on it at all. You have to stay away from your own doctrine in your heart. That's how evil it is. Good things are supposed to be always thought of and meditated on. If you stay away from something, how is that truth? I have to stay away from this. This is truth. I have to stay away from it, because if I go there, it's real bad and ugly. Suppose most try to stay away from it. The ones that do think about it more just do even more evil. Sell more books. They meditate on this stuff with bones cracking and children in ovens. What a sick world this is, that millions of books sell for a kid burning up in an oven and with their bones popping. That is frighteningly evil. What kind of merciless heart is that? Man, how does his people learn to love their neighbor as themselves if the world's not evil and doesn't ever do evil to you? Because the only way to do good to someone and prove it is by doing good to them after they do evil to you. How else can you do good? Everyone can do good to those that suck up to them and love them for an image. It takes nothing. It's what Messiah said. What reward will you have by doing good to those that do good to you? You know, even the tax collectors, the sinners do that. Anybody can do that. It's not my teaching. Didn't create it. Messiah's teaching that he gets from the Father. No, it's a big barrier to do good to those that do evil to you. Until that barrier starts being broken down, nothing can make sense for doing good. Can't make sense. Doesn't make sense until it starts making sense, until it's given more. And that's the only blessing. If we don't do good to those that do evil, then it's going to be a judgment on us and wrath. And who knows what might come on someone. Even, who knows, even literal disease maybe. anything. Who knows what could come, spiritually or physically. Well, this world hates the truth. It covered it all up. It's just normal for someone to get sick and die at 20 years old, 30. It's just all normal. Just put them in a box and category and hide the truth. Definitely don't speak about the truth and repentance at all. Justify it because you want them to be in death. Your works proved it. Your institutions proved it. And you make a lot of money off of their sickness. When Messiah can heal someone for free, wicked. You want them to be in sickness and death. You gain off of it and benefit off of it. All these institutions. While they make it look like they love them, they murderously hate their soul. And their works prove it. It's already over. They don't ever give them the truth, do they? No truth. Suppress it so we can make money in our kingdoms. What happens when the sorcerer, the woman sorcerer in Acts, what do we read? Somewhere. People are gaining off of it. What happens when the gaining stops, when the money flow stops with the sorcerer or witch or whatever? Everyone goes in a frenzy and rages and goes up to wherever they need to go to start attacking violently. They were only doing what looked good because they were gaining off of it. You take away the gain, and these people are murderers for an image even. That's it. That's all that's left. It's already a murderer. Because if that were to happen, then it proves that it was from the beginning. The apostle got annoyed. Yes, we read he got annoyed at some woman just constantly prophesying, trying to lift herself up. This is this person, this is this person. And he said, come out of her, you devil, filled up with some foul spirit. And then she, what? Then it happened. And what happened to all that money flow and merchandise now, this sorcerer? I think that's what it calls her. She's healed. We read about it. They lost the money, the gain. It stopped. Then they went and attacked the apostle and anyone else. I think that's where they started stoning him. That's how much hatred they have and love they have for evil and their self-gain. They'll start stoning you for the truth, for stopping their gain. These are devils, monsters. As long as they're making money, it can kind of look like they're of the Father. It can kind of look like they're good people. You take away their money, if it were to happen in one day, you would see the beast come out of all of them, just like we read. But they're already beast right now. It doesn't have to happen for that to be true. It's proving that's already true. It's doing all these things just for itself. That's it. For its own worshiping. It says it builds a statue of itself, sells it on Bibles, images, whatever, its own name, and says, worship the damnable image, or else. Worship the Nebuchadnezzar statue, which is a statue of himself, man, the image of the beast. Or we'll kill you, throw you in a pit, throw you in a lion's den, burn you in fire if you don't worship my statue, image. How does the Father show what this work is in the heart? With a picture. So you create the statue, first the natural, of an image of your own self, and you worship the damnable image, literally. You make a show for it, showing us the spiritual when it's given. He needs to give it, of what man's heart really is doing constantly. Where's the proof? I don't see a statue in somebody's house. I don't see a Buddha or whatever. I don't see a statue of their own self. Must be that it's not true. That's how he tries to cover up that real quick. The image of the beast in Revelation is a spiritual image. It could be connected to a literal image, but that's not the spiritual meaning. You see signs of these people, rich and famous, with their buddies, nasty, little jokes here and there, inside jokes that they're devils. They slip up all the time, but people don't see it. They don't see that when it happens because they're blind. If someone could see it, what would they'd be asking themselves, what on earth they're doing? What am I doing? Why am I believing this person, these lies and these works, praising the greedy, like we read. Those that have, give to them. Don't give to the poor in secret. Give to those who have already. And if you don't, you're wicked to not give to those that have already. What do we read about giving those that to have already? Giving to the rich. You'll be cursed. It's a judgment to give to those who are rich. They don't need more money. Nobody needs money. They need the truth. But to give more to those that have, though, it's like an abomination to the Creator. But they want you to do that. Maybe that should be saved up and, given to someone that actually could use it. Plus, the Creator calls most often people that are despised and hated in this world by the many. That's who he calls the most often. Don't go to the rich and wicked, how hardly they enter the kingdom. It's Messiah's words. Go to the poor. They'll believe more often. Even if it's not many, it's going to be, compared to the rich, way more, Father, he doesn't break his word. It won't work going to the rich. It won't work. They'll be hardened like a rock, most of them. Maybe every now and then he pulls out someone that's like super rich, but it's not about the numbers, but yes, there is a connection with it. About the love of money in the heart, which the Creator can always see. And no one can just go, I don't love money. I don't love money in the heart. He knows whether it's true or not, but that's what people say all the time, don't they? They masquerade. They go, God knows my heart. While they love money, they'll say that to make it look like that they don't. That's the only reason why they said that. And that's it. That's all you could do then if that's it. Can't convince them. They believe the lie that they don't love money or whatever sin we're talking about. Creates its own rules, its own definitions of love of money, creates its own images, creates its own laws on what that is, all based around self or to attack someone. Now it's going to create laws that say, that are formed according to someone or what someone has, and say, you're wicked because it just changed its laws so it can condemn you. And if 5 billion isn't loving money, then it'll raise itself to 6 billion. And now I'm at 5 billion. Done. Does that 6 billion love money? Not 5 billion, even though it's not about numbers, but that's how people work. That's covering self. That's getting a jacket and covering self real quick. Cover that nakedness. And if someone peels off a layer, there's a few layers just in case. They try to pull your pants down and laugh at you. Got a second pair. Ah, gotcha. I tricked the trickster. What is that? Double crossing, triple crossing. It starts getting confusing. Tricksters tricking tricksters. Tricks are for kids. Should learn from the cereal box. Tricks are for kids. If someone's maturing, then they don't want to do tricks anymore. Because the wicked bunny said tricks are for kids, and there's some truth to it. Did Messiah trick people? No. Did they claim he did? Yeah, they claimed it. Did he have demons? No. But did they claim it? Yeah. And it goes like that for everything. So this is connected to the immortal soul too. The immortal soul that never dies. The soul that sins shall die. And every example of people dying constantly in Scripture, but no, the immortal soul never dies. They won't find those words anywhere. The soul that never dies, that does not die. Yes, those that believe in Messiah, the life that the Father gives, will not die in them to their death, because he's not talking about literal death when he's talking about this true life. And the resurrection is their hope too. There's no immortal soul. Messiah himself died. If he had an immortal soul, he never died. Therefore, the anti-Messiah never died for anyone. And they don't have spiritually the blood on the post in their heart because they don't believe in their heart that the Messiah died, because he can't die. He's immortal. He never died for anyone. That's how tricky their doctrine is, and that's what it does. There's no reality to it. Just his body died or something. They'll have to come up with desperation when it's exposed. Just his body died. It's unreal. Where do they get that in Scripture? That Adam is a living being, living soul. Not before. He's dead. Not alive. Not even existing. Till the spirit is breathed into his body and this becomes a living soul. And when someone dies, they're not a living soul anymore. They're dead. Adam goes back to the dust. Spirit goes back to the Father, and it was before. It goes back to the first state, or before. And he's able to restore again. He's able to kill and make alive. And if people did die and go to heaven, you wouldn't find their body anywhere, would you? And yet there they are, still there in the grave. How come Messiah's body was missing? Don't they believe in his word, in the true Messiah? Don't they believe why we read those words? The new heavens and new earth that the church world doesn't teach. Even if they say the words, it's just some weird delusion because their doctrine is you don't just die and go to heaven. They don't believe in the truth. This is the life and world we live in, where someone says, because of them needing to say, that someone's in heaven to give them false comfort. It's just about themselves. Always check why someone did what they did, to comfort themselves. That's it. It's trickery. Doesn't care about anything or anyone. Only the Father's love and Spirit can make someone do that. It's doing other things for itself, comforting itself, doing things for self. It only cares about and pities itself. Was Messiah like frantic? They got me, and he's just standing there. Well, hurry up and take me now. You tried to grab me all those other times. How come you couldn't do it? How come you couldn't do it? Here I am now, take me. And the Roman soldiers like fall back because they're cowards, and Messiah is not a coward. This is happening in spirit. Can't be seen by carnal eyes. He's not afraid of them. Doesn't have cowardly fear. They're expecting a certain spiritual condition when these monsters go and try to capture someone, and they're seeing the exact opposite with Messiah. That's why they fall back. They can't believe it. They're in shock. It's a judgment. You have to get a strong judgment to take a believer in, to take Messiah in like that. That's why they're afraid. They don't even know why they're afraid. And they're very offended at everything. Take yourself down, you saved others. They're doing that because they're talking about themselves. Everything, every word is talking about self, all of it. And Messiah knows it fully, in detail, in spirit, every word. And you have to forgive these monsters. Yeah. Oh, they know what they're doing in their own mind, so they think. So then when they hear, they know not what they do, it's an abomination to them. Everything they are, they dump on to Messiah and believe that he is exactly what they are. That's the truth. That's what happens. It can't even be any other way. Does Christianity believe Messiah is even real at all? Just some kind of weird theory, delusion story. That's what being of another spirit is. It's freaky. It has nothing to do with reality. Maybe there's a reason why we read they all made a line and started cheering, throwing their hands up, and he's riding in on a donkey. All those people hated him while they were cheering him. All of them viciously hate him. They just think they like him. Then that's revealed, obviously, a little later, because they didn't know who he is. Because the same people that cheered and made the path straight killed him. The religion killed him. Nobody hates Messiah more than his own people, more so than even the Romans or nations. What do they care? Yeah, just hate anyone. Oh, but these people, they really hate him. More than the Romans, more than the Gentiles. I think that's it. Messiah was born in the flesh according to the flesh. That's the truth, and they can't hide it. It's in all his word. It's in the Old Testament and New Testament. What they going to do? Hide it? They can't hide it. It's like desperately trying. Man, I mean, the enemy must want to, if it could, just burn up and destroy all his word completely. or change it completely. But it's like they can't. Well, they can only go as far as the Father allows them to deceive people. They can't do it. Their own greed makes it so that they can't do it. Their own lust to make money fulfills the Father's word, and he uses them like that. Uses the harlot even to preserve his word. Their own sin protects his word, and he finds a way somehow to do it through that. Their own pride and lust to rule people protects his word. Pretty shameful. They can't get rid of it. They can't actually delete it. But they are deceiving people's minds, no doubt. Deleting it in people's minds. So they can't actually get rid of it. Be here all the way to the end, every generation, just like it always has been since the word was revealed and given. Looking forward to dying and going to heaven, or looking forward to a new heavens and a new earth. Or, looking forward to dying while being alive and going to heaven, dead and alive at the same time, or looking forward to the new heavens and new earth in resurrection life now and to come. The meek will inherit the heaven, or the meek will inherit the earth. Well, heaven and earth becoming one spiritually, where this wicked world's passing away, and heaven and earth become one, where that should be happening within someone on earth as it is in heaven. But this prophecy continuing until the world is actually heaven on earth, one, not a barrier, not a veil. How can't they see this? 1900 years and they can't see it. Confusion, contradictions, divisions with their own doctrines. There's divisions and contradictions. If the sky turned bright yellow and the whole world saw it, and it was obvious, and then it went away after an hour, it would be over. It would be hushed up, and it would be as if it never happened. If it was an actual miracle, the point is it has to cover up because it's at enmity. It doesn't want to see any proof of anything or any power or truth that's from the Father above. It would have to try to bury it instantly, the best way it knows how. But if it sees what it thinks is powerful and it's coming from the devil and from people and from this world, then it will love it and worship it because it's not from the Father. If it sees a lying wonder that's from the enemy, then it will support it and worship it and accept it. Just it can't accept Messiah's works because they're the Father's works. It can't accept those works. If someone else came in their own name and it looked like they were doing something like that, then they could accept that because they could use them and they're one spiritually, but not Messiah. No, he's our enemy. I mean, doesn't that reveal the heart too? Messiah is healing people, and these people are filling up with envy and hatred. Oh, we read envy. Yes, Cain does envy Abel. It's always been true. filling up with envy. Well, that's an evil heart, to fill up with envy for someone that can walk that never walked, you know. It wants lust, ruling, controlling, and power. That's it. That's all. Just wants to control and rule people. It takes those works. If it had that power, that's how it would use it to control people. It's what everyone's been doing. It's what the harlot does do. It's what the church world's been doing. Hundreds of years of trying to be the authority. Only we understand the Bible. Incredible. Oh, if the enemy could, he would keep it that way. I mean, he would destroy his word, but that can't happen. Just can't do it. But then, okay, they can't do that. So what? Well, keep it in this language and in this way for forever. We will always have authority, but then it starts spreading into other languages. And then the church world rages, kills and slashes and puts people on stakes, unburies bones, crushes them, throws them in the river. Who knows how many times they did all these things. It can't stand that it's lost some of its power. So now it has to send enemies and devils and whatever names you want to call them out to deceive and destroy people on purpose, and put their own ministers in the church world to destroy them and keep deceiving them with their own doctrines. Since they can't stop this thing, they have to conquer and divide. They can't stop his word spreading carnally, literally, so they have to go and spread themselves everywhere. Yes, doing their father's will, the devil, fulfilling it. Raging, spiritual lunatics, mad, insane, evil, violent, always working in darkness and secrecy, never telling anyone anything to the best of its ability of what it really does and why it's really there. They might as well be the devil manifested in the flesh in a strong delusion. It makes me wonder who all these ministers, that big time ministers, are. They're nothing with what they say they are at all. Zero. They live a constant lie the rest of their life, and lie to people the rest of their life. And this evil, I see its want to destroy and deceive, and it's like allowed to get worse as we get to the end. Maybe that's what we have to see, just to show everyone how evil man is. Without the creator, he's nothing except evil. Where carnally things are slipping and getting bad. The image is slipping, the perversion's getting so severe. And even his word, what is this? It's probably going to go to another step or stage, I imagine, where there's another big change and shift to try to go away from it even further. Try to corrupt it in people's minds even further. It just gets worse and worse. You got ads that are getting worse and worse and more perverted openly. Now it's normal. Monsters, beasts, wanting to rape people, and it's advertising this. Like, it's all you see is someone's mouth wide open with their mouth and their eyes crossed. That's the people that make, 2 million views, 5 million views, 500,000. So their mouth has to be wide open all the time, most of them. You have to be insane, desperately needing its mouth wide open to compete with all the other wide open mouths. Trying to take some of that worship and attention. Isn't it obvious? modify and do things according to a product. That's it. Oh, this doesn't work. I'll do this. That will increase the numbers. This doesn't work. I'll do this. You're just a product to them. You're just using people like a machine to make money. It's disgusting. What are they going to say? All of them? I don't do that. I don't love money. What do their works prove? It's exactly that, all day long, every day. It literally looks like that to me. That's all I see now. There's a dead man right below someone's feet in Hollywood. You're not a murderer. You didn't kill anyone. You're a good person. And there's a dead guy right there. The works prove it already. It's over. What are you talking about? Not a murderer. What are you talking about? People can't see that the guy's dead. What's going on? Right from the beginning, it tried to flip the world upside down, but no, evil couldn't allow that to happen. The world's turning upside down. That's how 180 it is. That's how 180 the truth is with the lie at all times. So this upside down is literally upside down to enemies and darkness. Oh no. People are believing in Messiah. Oh no. This is wicked. We better stop it, or else everyone will believe in him, we read. And then the wolves come and scatter and divide, and then it's been this way ever since. But it was like that before. It seemed like the most believers there ever were in any location was right at the beginning. The first few years, maybe. That's it. Been scattered. Pretty scattered ever since. So how many people did the apostle have left? 2 or 3 that weren't offended at his chains? All the churches, all the gatherings of Asia has left him. That's not good. All that work, like most of it up in smoke. No, it's not actually up in smoke. That's part of the learning and growing, is that it's not about creating numbers and products like the world does. But still, that must be difficult to see. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the day there's no more wolves. No more angry wolves. Stop chewing on them, killing them. Sadistic, evil people that rule this world no more. Telling people what they want to do to everyone. Every now and then they just tell you more and more often. It's getting more obvious what they want to do. It's just a brainwashing, survival kits, survival this, survival that. They want you to be in a panic that these people are all evil. This whole world's evil and sick. How obvious is it that they want everyone to be in a crazy panic and fearful of these gods and what they're going to do to them? And why are people voting for the people that they supposedly hate at the same time? Maybe they should seek the Creator and stop voting for them and, do the Creator's will. Not love this world or anything in it with the heart. The Father wouldn't command. Messiah's words wouldn't command us to do this if it was a good world. He wouldn't say, hate good. No, never. Don't love the world because what? It's evil, wicked. Some thin little orange survival sleeping bag thing. And I just see this pattern. And there's ads, and everybody's seeing them all over the world at the same, practically the same time everywhere. Trying to break people so hardcore. But the even literally though, the creator can provide. He already did it. He already showed he could do that in the middle of a desert. So how much worse can it get? And you get food somehow, some way. That's what we're supposed to believe anyways for that, the lower things. Because, the golden calf, God is not real. So it can't actually do these things. You have to constantly make sure you're doing it yourself. Pride and walking your own way and creating your own way. Because somewhere in there, it just by default, a golden calf that you create can't actually do anything for you. So that's why, you have to work out of that unbelief and stupidity that people have to do if they have the golden calf can't do anything for them. If things are seemingly looking good and going good, they'll just attribute it to the golden calf, like the Israelites did. It got us out of Egypt. That's a lot of evil the Father puts up with. It's a lot of serious patience, unimaginable. Every day. I think that's it. Out of words. All right. Peace. Take care. See.